G'day, Blue Baggers, and welcome to this week's pre-match show. It's your host, Jedd here, alongside Harrison Hyman's Bolt. Big game tonight, isn't it?
Yeah, look, massive game. As in, I guess I'm not sure I'm not sure how gettable finals is at the moment, but we've just got to finish the season with as many wins as possible. I guess we've got Sydney and Adelaide to come. So if we can get the win-loss ledger at least 8 or 9 by the end of the year, I think it's a pretty successful season by all means. But tonight's going to be a test. We saw Sydney beat Melbourne pretty convincingly last week. They're quick through the middle. They've just got a really, good, promising young brigade. So it'll be very, very interesting. What are your thoughts, Luke?
It will be. There's one man I'm really looking forward to seeing. It's the debutant Matt Owies. Should we talk about the team changes from a Carlton point of view?
Yep. So there were 4 changes, weren't there?
Yeah, 4 changes. Eddie Betts went out and managed. He probably needed a rest, Eddie, didn't he? He needed a week off.
Been a long time coming.
Yeah, it has been. Another 3 changes. Paddy Dow dropped. Cam Polson dropped. 2 players who a lot of people would say, stiff. I think it was probably stiff to drop Polson.
Same. I just thought with Polson that I thought he's shown enough whereby he's been a bit of I'm not going to say a threat, but I think his kicking coming out of the back line's been, kind of outweighs the bad in terms of his defending. So I think I thought his spot was justified ahead of Petreski-Sedens personally. It's a bit stiffer Polson. I'm not sure where that leads him going into next year, considering he's out of contract. And I think
are his papers stamped?
I'm not sure. It's a really tough one with Polson. I guess he's only been playing in the back half for a certain amount of time. But it'll be maybe with, list cuts, he may be one of those to fall. But I think Dow, his omission I saw coming. I just don't think, as D Hoops Sports has said, it was the right call. He's just not up to it at the moment, Paddy Dow.
Yeah. Interesting comments from Diesel this morning on radio saying he needs to pull his finger out. He's not aggressive enough. He's not tough enough. That's coming from the person who was brought in to train him. So he's seen, obviously, since he's left the club, Dow's probably dropped off, to be honest. And it's going to be interesting to see how he, if he's able to earn a spot back in the side before the end of the season, or if it's full steam ahead pre-season and we wait till next year.
Yeah, and look, I couldn't agree more with what Diesel said. He's got no ticker to his game, Paddy Dow. I'm not even sure whether he's an inside-outside player anymore. I just don't really know what Paddy Dow is at the moment. So, and we said it at the back end of last year, he needs to go back into the Magoos and kind of just, kind of figure out what he's going to do at the level, because I'm not sure. As in, he's such an issue for me personally, Dow, and obviously, his kicking wasn't great last week, but I guess, it's great to see, David Cunningham back.
It is. I'm really keen to see Cunningham back, keen to see what he can bring to the table, to be honest. I think it's going to be interesting where he plays. I'd love to see him in the midfield. Yeah. But, the one I want to talk about coming in, Matt Owies, it's his debut. Bolt, talk to me about him and what you know about him from what we've seen in the VFL.
Well, as I'm sure we're going to hear countless times during the coverage, he comes from a basketball background, Matt Owies.
Yes.
He's been playing in the forward pocket. We know he was very, very close last year to getting, his first game. But I think it's great. He's the like-for-like for Betts. I think he's kicked 11 goals in the last 4, scratch matches down below. So he's earned his spot. And, Betts and Fisher weren't great last week, and Betts hasn't been great for a few weeks now. So I think Owies he's just been knocking the door down, obviously, and it's a good opportunity for him.
Yeah, so for those who don't know a heap about Matt Owies, he's not your small forward that you're going to see in the midfield. I feel like he's just a pure small forward. And let's be honest, he's been kicking bags since day one. He's come into the VFL system. They've known from day one what his role is. He's going to be that small forward. And he's kicked bags. He kicks bags of 3, 4, however many he kicks. He kicks goals every week in the VFL. And this year in the scrap matches, he's been kicking goals as well. He's earned this selection because as a Category B rookie, they don't often play unless they really earn it. So I'm very excited to see him. And, I think he's going to be all right.
Yeah, no, I hope so. And once again, with someone like Owies, he's just got to take his chances, he's just got to hit the scoreboard because, scoring hasn't been too high this year. So if he kicks, chimes into the couple goals, well, that's all we need from Matt Owies. Just to hit the scoreboard tonight, provide a bit of pressure. We just want him to be dangerous when the ball hits the ground. I think we probably didn't get to see that enough with Honey when he played against Fremantle. But I think, we've seen how dangerous Betts and Gibbons and Fisher have looked, in weeks gone by. So we just need Owies to chip in there.
Yeah. Now, a couple people saying, D Hoop Sports said, I thought he was small. I thought he was big, didn't know he was small, and that he heard he was a basketball player. So obviously a lot of people hear the basketball background and they assume he's a big guy. He's not. He's a small forward, a lot of dash, and what we can expect to see from Matt Owies tonight is goals in front of goal. He's probably going to play as our deepest forward. Would you agree, Bolt?
Yeah, I think so. It'll be interesting. I just think they'll be rotating. I think we have to be as unpredictable as possible because Sydney are very undersized down back. Yeah. Obviously, no Rampy, no Mills. They'll play something of like Alir, Melican, and Fox, and hopefully our big boys. And even if Chuck De Koning in there when he's resting down forward, we just got to take the game by the scruff of the neck, really.
Yeah. Now, De Koning comes in for Pitternet. Just very quickly, a couple of people asking for Matt Owies' dimensions, his height. I believe he's 178, maybe. He's 170. He's 179. So
something like 9, Benny Lawson.
Yeah. Tom De Koning comes in for Mark Pitternet. Bolt change there. It's a big one. Obviously, De Koning's now probably overtaken Pitt in the ruck stocks at our club.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts there?
I didn't think Pitternet was great last week. I just think, and I think we've said it in weeks gone by, De Koning, he just offers, more around the ground than Pitternet. At the end of the day, there's just more on the table with, TDK. And I think he's going to give us that option going. We saw Pitternet last week. He had those 2 set shots, which came off like his ankle. But I think, TDK is pretty agile around the ground as well. So, he just moves a little bit nicer. So, no, I'm definitely keen to see TDK play along with Casbolt pinch hitting.
I'm as well. Questions come in from Ben Israels, and he asks, do you think Lockie O'Brien will play this year? Love from Cotter. It's going to be interesting. I'm hearing whispers. He's, not that happy he's not playing. But I think he'll get a game before the end of the year. I hope he does.
We need to see him.
Yeah, we need to see him. He's not leaving or anything. I'm not alluding to anything like that. He'd love to be playing. So I think it's important that he gets out on the park before the end of the year. If he doesn't, sort of, we know more. We know no more and no less than we did last year. So
exactly.
Going into next year, we'd love to see him at least once, I think. Would you agree?
I'd love to see him. We know he's a beautiful distributor of the ball. So, yeah.
Questions come in from Dylan Nadelman. Is McKay good enough to be our key forward, or do we need to bring in a key forward? Well, I'm not sure we have anyone other than Callum Moore waiting in the wings. Yeah. Obviously, Charlie Curno's out. I think McKay's definitely good enough. We saw last week his contested marking was fantastic, dominated in that area. He needs to fix his kicking, though. If he's able to fix his kicking, that's probably the last little piece of the puzzle for H.
Yeah, his kicking's been off for about 12 to 15 months now. He was clunking him last week. I think he had 5 shots on, only kicked 1, and it's the difference between a result at the end of the day. And Mackay's going to have those games where he does kick, his 4 or 5 goals. He hasn't had many of them, but he is pivotal to us tonight. And I think Casbolt's the one. How dangerous did we look at the start of the year when Casbolt was getting involved in all these chains up the ground and then hitting the scoreboard the other way? So I think those 2 especially are probably the keys. And if we can get McGovern, playing in between the arcs and being that link man, I think, it's definitely going to hold us in good stead.
There's a very funny comment here. Adam Gould says, Harrison looks like he's been smoking the devil's lettuce.
Yeah,
that's brilliant. I don't think he has, but maybe he's not telling me something.
No, I'm just tired. I've just not a lot of sleep, big day at work, but I'm pumped for tonight's game.
Huge. Joe Pace says, baffled that SPS continues to get a game. To be honest, I'm pretty baffled that he survived selection this week. I think to take Poulsen out ahead of him was crazy. We know with SPS, he's going to be at the club next year. Poulsen is playing for his life, and Poulsen was better than him last week. It's pretty much as blunt as that. I don't know. What do you reckon, Bolt?
Yeah, I personally would have dropped Petreski-Seaton. But I would have dropped him, but yeah, just some funny comments coming in here.
Yeah, some very keep the comments coming in, guys. We love it. Great interaction.
Cottrell, thoughts on Cottrell for tonight? Does he play more of a defensive role now that I guess Poulsen's gone out, or does he kind of stay on that wing type of role that we've seen him play?
Very funny comments, guys. We love it.
Questions going on here.
Anyway, I'm very excited to see Cottrell tonight because I think he will probably play more of a defensive role. I think Cottrell's been good. I think he was last week was probably the game where he got least involved out of all his games that he's played so far. But something I've noticed about Cottrell is as the game goes on, he does get involved more. He sort of lifts his game as the game goes on. So we see that he builds into games nicely. That may simply be because of how fit he is and the fact that he's the only one at the end of the game that's still got legs in him. Could be because of that, but I think he gets better as games go on. And I think maybe they should play him in a defensive role. He's been playing more up on the wing. But yeah, it's very interesting to see where he's going to play. A question from Nick Wishart. Evening, gents. Keep an eye on McGovern tonight. He's due, and I think he's in for a big one. 6+ marks tonight. Look, Bolt, this is what we're crying out for, isn't it?
We need a big McGovern game. As in, I think McGovern. I know he does get he does cop it a lot, McGovern, but for me, he's just such a key player. McGovern's almost our barometer. If he is getting up around the ground, if he is, kicking inside 50, we just look like such a cleaner, more dynamic team when McGovern's up and about. So I really hope so. He is due. Well, he hasn't played in quite a bit, but he wasn't great last week in his return. So we definitely need McGovern firing. The other one I was going to ask you was, is it as simple as Plowman to Papley tonight?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that's what I'd be doing. If I were the coach, it's interesting. I feel like Papley will tear anyone to shreds, but in our team, Plowman's probably the best match. I'd actually be interested. This is going to sound crazy. I'd be interested to see Cottrell on him.
That's what I was kind of thinking. But I think Plowman's probably
Cottrell. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I think it has to be Plowman. I just think if Papley's playing a little bit closer to goal, you'd rather Plowman closer to goal, I think. But hopefully the last time, we have to think about matching up on Papley. So,
absolutely. I think it'll be interesting. Cottrell obviously has the legs to stick with him, but Plowman will probably go to him. But let's turn our attention to the midfield. Key matchups here. Will they tag Cripper?
So Ryan Clark might be their option to run with him at stoppage.
It's a bit of a flick off the shoulder job, isn't it?
It is, but he's actually been in pretty good form, Ryan Clark.
Yeah, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no. So I think that might be their go, but it's definitely worth their time investing in Cripps. But once again, we just need our boys, whether it is Setterfield or Ed Kerner or Sam Walsh, just these guys. I actually think David Cunningham's going to get a bit of midfield time today. Actually, there's no Kennedy.
I hope so.
No Kennedy, Dow, or Gibbons. I think Cunningham and Martin should get some extent because they were so quick last week on the rebound, Sydney. Guys like Florence, obviously Parker's going to get a lot of the footy. James Rowbottom. So I definitely think, we should be getting Martin and Cunningham up around the ground a little bit more.
Well, we've seen Cunningham play one game in the middle of this year. Basically, just the one game. It was against Essendon. And he tore him to shreds. He had 26 touches, absolutely dominated. He played the game of a player that we are crying out for. And that's just your pure, dashy, fast, quick midfielder, which we don't have. And the fact that he hasn't played in that position since that Essendon game, it's bizarre to me. but
Yeah.
I hope he comes in tonight and plays that role.
No, he is. And just a question here from Todd asking whether thoughts on resting Cripps should be just, or should he just go through the year or rest him? And I think, for us, it's all about results. So I think, if Cripps thinks his body is good enough to get through a game, then I think it's a no-brainer for us, to play him. If Cripps thinks he's up to it, we've got to play Cripps. He has looked battered. It hasn't been the Cripps of 2018-19, for sure. And I don't think anyone in the club is denying that. But, as David Teague has said, and, Marky Zetzer as well, Cripps is due for a big one. But I just think, as David Teague said during the week, the fact that our team has gotten better with Cripps playing worse isn't a bad thing in the grand scheme of things.
So Adam Gould, I completely agree with that. Adam Gould has posted, pity Newman is out. He could have had 4 quarters to talk Papley into being in navy blue next year. Absolutely, that is what we love. But I'm sure
would have been ideal.
I'm sure Newman will be on the boundary line and after the game may get in his ear a little bit. But look, it's going to be interesting if Papley comes in the off-season. Would be a huge, huge recruit. But in the ruck battle tonight, it's going to be interesting. So De Koning will come up against Sinclair.
Yep.
I think this is probably the first time De Koning's playing this year where he's got a ruck battle which he can actually win and probably have a major impact on the game. I'm not saying he hasn't won any of the ones he's come up against, but he's come up against Natanui, he's come up against Witts, he's come up against the big ruckman in the league. This is an opportunity to come up against one of the second-tier ruckmen.
Yeah, and that's why I'm very excited to see TDK tonight. So I think it's a game where Sinclair's almost going to have to monitor what De Koning's doing rather than the other way around. And just a question here from Benny Lawson. So they're going to have Sam Reid up forward, which is probably their tallest target. Is Hayden McLean still in the team? I think he might still be.
I think so.
Hayden McLean, because he's definitely.
I like that from Oscar Black.
Say that again, sorry? Oh, yeah. I know, I was going to say, I'm just quickly checking to see if Hayden McLean... Oh, no, Tom McCartan and Hayden McLean as well. So McCartan might be that one that swung back if they need, like he was against Port Adelaide a couple of weeks ago. But I think, I think Hayden McLean as well up forward.
Yeah. Parker always destroys us. Got to keep your eyes on him. He does always destroy us. And
he's a great player, Luke Parker.
He's a great player. Ed Curnow?
I think that is an Ed Curnow job. Definitely around.
I think it's a Curnow job.
It's an Ed Curnow job. But I think that's just more a stoppage thing, really. I think the other one we should be very thankful that's not playing is Isaac Heaney, because we saw, I think it was the start of 2018, he kicked, I think 25 and 4 goals or something like that on us. So, and he's just always an impossible matchup, Heaney.
He is. Someone, though, who is in really good form for Sydney is James Rowbottom, and he's probably the one now who... It's probably the first time we're playing Sydney that we actually need to take a bit of notice of James Rowbottom. Do you think that there'll be a matchup to him tonight, or do you think it will just be part of the midfield rotations?
Yeah, just part of the midfield rotation. But he's been going forward and kicking, the odd goal or two here and there, a bit like Walsh has been doing. So I think he definitely is. I think I love Rowbottom. I think he's an exceptional player, or he is going to be an exceptional player. But I don't think it's someone we're going to go probably out of the way. Probably Josh Kennedy before we go to Rowbottom or something like that. But I definitely think Park has clearly been their best player this year. The other one I was going to touch on, is it worth maybe putting... We've seen Cunningham play this role a couple of times this year. Is it worth Cunningham maybe locking down on Jake Lloyd?
Ooh, interesting. I think it will be better if we use Cunningham's attributes rather than sort of selling him short, playing that defensive tagging role. I'd rather put him in the midfield and see what he can do there, to be honest.
Yeah. No, I agree. I'd like to see Cunningham, in the midfield. Right.
Oscar Black says, anyone else pumped to see Willow run off half back? Absolutely. He's been the shining light, I think, this year. Tom Williamson, one of many shining lights, but he's improving on a weekly basis. His kicking is fantastic. We saw last week his kicking inboard was just brilliant. He's now starting to feel comfortable in his body, recovering from those injuries, and I think we've got a player in our hands there.
Yep. No, I know you've been big on Williamson since 2017 when he started, and I think he's still trying to find that balance between offense and defense a bit, Williamson. But Yeah, I think Dylan Nadelman's just asked here, any good bets for tonight, lads? Well, Dill, I think get on the Blues. I think tonight, we put ourselves in great positions the last 2 weeks. We've got it 3/4 time in both games, and I think if Carlton get a stranglehold up forward, there's no reason we shouldn't win tonight. Really,
I agree.
I think we've got to get the ball in as quickly as possible tonight, and just get it in the air because we're so much bigger than them down forward, especially if Tom McCartan for them starts up forward. So I definitely think just repeat direct entries, and we should have Sydney hopefully scrambling a little.
Absolutely. Big Matthew Cruiser says we brought Cunners in the team tonight to provide the run in the midfield, the speed in the midfield. He says, I agree. A question, well, not a question. Oscar Black, he's keeping us updated with the GWS Adelaide match. Giants are down by 11 with 5 minutes to go. Yeah. Thanks for the updates, Oscar. Let us know the final score because it could potentially keep us alive, Bolt.
Maybe. We'll get some predictions for the game. Type in the comments your predictions for tonight's Carlton Sydney.
Who's going to win and by how much?
Yes, I'm very keen to see what the public think will happen in tonight's game. What are your predictions, by the way?
I think we'll win. I think we'll win. I think that we match up well against Sydney. This is a game. I think we're not. Look,
Sydney
touch wood. We're not going to lose 3 games in a row. Nicholas Cohen says Sydney by 6 goals. Not a confident blue bagger, is he?
It's a Mystic Carlton fan.
Yeah, there's a lot of other tips coming through. Carlton by 24, Carlton by 10 to 15, Carlton by 2 goals. Shad Watson, he's ambitious. He says Carlton by 52. I'd love that, Shad. I'd absolutely love that. But yeah, I think Carlton should win tonight. I don't think we'll lose 3 in a row. It's a good matchup for us, I think. I think the midfield is probably the position we need to be most wary of. But when our midfield is up and running, we're very hard to stop. And I'm not sure Sydney really have the matchups for McKay, Casbolt, and McGovern. What are your thoughts, Bolt?
No, I definitely feel we've got the edge, in most positions. It's just a matter of converting and, I guess, taking our chances tonight. But, I'm actually pretty confident tonight. I'm usually, a little bit of a fence sitter. But, I'm definitely on the Blues tonight.
Yeah, a update, Adelaide by 11, 2 minutes 30 on the clock. Thank you for the updates. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. If Adelaide hold on, it throws the finals race into a bit of chaos, doesn't it?
Oh, well, I think 10 wins will still get you there, and I'm still confident GWS should get there. This is just a little bit of a hurdle for them. They'll just have to win their last 2 games, the Giants. I think 10 is the number still, so I think it's probably going to be a step too far for us this year. But, if we can put ourselves 8-8 going into that last Brisbane game, I guess you never know. But I guess, we've just got to focus on ourselves. And, we got 7 wins last year in a 22-game season. So if we can strive for 8 in a 17-game season, that's just a massive, massive, massive result for the footy club.
It is. Todd Panak says more than 1 goal in the second half will be good to see. It will.
Yeah.
Now, scoring in the second half, I think we've kicked
13-42.
13 goals, 42 in the last 7 second halves that we've played. So tonight, massive emphasis on playing 4 quarters. It's been done very rarely by us this year. We very rarely put in a 4-quarter effort. We've played a lot of games that have been very, very close. And I think that's been because when we're good, we kick a lot of goals quickly. But when we're bad, we concede a lot of goals quickly. So we saw against Melbourne, you've conceded the first 7 of the game, come back, only lost by a point. You go to Geelong, we're up by 6-7 goals, only won by a point or 2. You look at the Port Adelaide match, which was close. It was actually probably closer to a 4-quarter effort. But, yeah, there's been a lot of games this year. Hawthorn as well wasn't a 4-quarter effort. We just need to focus on... This is my main thing. When Carlton are getting beaten quickly, when Sydney are on the rebound tonight, because it'll happen at some point, we need to try and maintain possession instead of falling into their hands and trying to play that quick brand of footy that they're playing. We need to really hold the ball, hold possession, control the game, because that's something we don't do when we're getting smacked on the rebound.
No, 100%. I agree. So the Crows win. Big win for Adelaide. And I think
Jeez, huge win for Adelaide. Wow.
some words of wisdom here from Dylan Nadelman saying Carlton will win if they score more than Sydney. Well, that's a very, very fair
That's
comment.
an outlandish prediction.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we do. Hopefully we do. That's the game in a nutshell. If Carlton score more than Sydney, they'll win. But
I love this. We could have connected two blue baggers here. Nicholas Cohen says, "Can we get a drink together?" At Dylan Nadelman. So blue baggers, if you're watching, if you're connecting, great stuff. Post your predictions. Who's going to win by how much if you haven't already. Bolt, very excited for tonight's game. If there's one player you'd like to put the microscope on, who you're expecting a big game from, who is it?
I think we've already put the microscope on Mitch McGovern. So I think I'm a Mitch McGovern fan, so I'd like to, see him lift a little bit off last week's output. For me, it's Mitch McGovern. You, Jed?
There's some very funny comments in the comments section. Great stuff.
Everyone's pretty wild on a Tuesday night. I'm not sure what's happening in lockdown on a Tuesday.
This is brilliant. So it's going to be very interesting tonight. I think Mitch McGovern, but yeah, I'd like to put the microscope on Samo. He has to have a big week. He has to. I mean, this is really important for him. He's had a really, really off season. Played really well round one, but since the restart, he's struggled. So I'd love to see Samo come out tonight and shut me up and shut up all the other critics of him and put in a really solid performance. And if that means playing more in the midfield, I personally don't see how we can persist with him in his current position. I think he's gotten stale. I think he's...
Yeah, that is a good word to describe it.
It's obvious it's not working for him. It's gotten a bit stale, and it's probably time to move him up the ground. I'd still play him on half forward, but people want to see him in the midfield. I think the bottom line is he needs a position change.
Yep. No, for me, he's been trialled and tested in the midfield, Petreski said, and so I almost thought moving him to the back line was almost the kick up the backside he needed, and he hasn't responded. So he's just at a real crossroads, Samo. So look, I think he's very lucky to be playing tonight. He just needs to bounce back. There's nothing more to say really, because I think his spot. I don't think his spot will be there for him next week if he plays like that again. But hopefully he responds.
He couldn't survive a performance like last week twice. He couldn't.
There's no way.
Shad Watson says, if both teams get the same score, it's a draw. FYI, I love a lot of comedians in the comments tonight. Great stuff. Cadtrick says, SPS wing half forward. Yeah, wouldn't mind it. I wouldn't be totally against it. That's probably where I'd like to see him play, to be honest.
He's just got his hands on the footy.
Absolutely, guys. Only a couple minutes left. Put in any comments you have. Bodine says, not long now, guys. GWS won't make the 8 now. That gives us a better of a chance.
I'll still make it.
Very interesting. It's a crazy result, isn't it? The Giants going down to Adelaide.
Now we've got Adelaide next week, so they're coming in on. They're going to come into the Carlton game off the back of 2 wins in a row.
Gee, perfect timing for us, isn't it? Joshua Thaler says, surely Owies 4 goals tonight. I'd love it. I mean, yeah, I think Owies' only contribution to the game is probably going to be on the scoreboard. Let's be honest. He may get some goal assists, some score involvements. That's probably what will happen. But yeah, as we said, he's a pure small forward. He's not going to be one of those that you see play up the ground in the midfield. He's a pure small forward, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly. As in, hopefully he, gives us a little bit more than what this bloke is. But I think it's going to be like, the way Betts and Lang kind of have played the last 18 months in that role. Hopefully get more goals on the board, but it's literally just going to be pure 30 out from goal, forward pocket.
Yes, and just a quick comment. A lot of people saying up the Blues. Shad Watson says fan cams after the game. Yep, be sure to tune in to the live stream. Terry will be doing fan cams after the game. So if you want to have your say after this match, be sure to tune in. Blue Baggers, it's been lovely. Very, very excited for the match. Put your feet up, get a beer out, watch the Baggers in action tonight. Bolt, any last little words before we tune out?
Let's just get the W. We need a win. Yeah. The last 2 weeks have been very disappointing, so just need to get back on the forward tonight, hopefully.
We do. Blue Baggers, thank you so much for tuning in. A massive match tonight. Hopefully we can get the win. And just remember, put your scarves on, feet up, get your beers out, and go the Blues. Cheers for
See you
tuning
later.
in.
Go Blues.